the O3D, on or off-duty medical pouch, designed by NOLATAC and manufactured for us right here in the USA by High Speed Gear. We've seen great success with our M3T, the multi-mission medical taco, but it's a rather larger form factor, offering much more adaptability and versatility. What we found is that there was a need for something with a smaller form factor that was geared towards that patrol officer that was going to go on that typical duty belt. And anyone that's worn one knows that the real estate available on that duty belt with all the different tools we have now is becoming very limited. So we needed something small enough to fit into that form factor, but that still allowed for the carriage of those most essential trauma aids. And that brings us to the O3D. First, let's talk about mounting. It's going to come with two of the High Speed Gear shark clips to interface with PALS, and it'll go on obviously anything that has a PALS system on it. It could be a slim grip or a sure grip war type belt like from High Speed Gear. It could be a plate carrier, chest rig, the side of a pack, whatever can attach via PALS, you'll be able to do that. What was designed specifically for duty belts was going to be the lid closure. So first off, it has a hook and loop interface. This is for when we do have it mounted via the PALS. When we open it, it doesn't want to flop down. It stays in place so I can work at it and control it a little better. When I have it on a duty belt, depending on if you're running Safariland or Bianchi or some other type of Uncle Mike, some other type of duty belt, they have different hook and loop configurations, interfaces between the inner belt and the outer belt. So you should get some level of interaction between one or two of those sides of hook and loop so we don't get it wanting to slide forward and rear on the duty belt. Nevertheless, when it's on there, once we open it, we can literally rip it off the duty belt and have it in front of us, or the compression between the belt and the body will keep it in place if we want to work with it off of our hip. First thing we'll see as far as the features, exterior glove pouch. This was designed knowing from experience that oftentimes, or more oftentimes, we're going to be using medical gloves for non-medical purposes. Searching a suspect or just handling something nasty that we don't want to get on our hands. So what we don't want to do is cannibalize or start to dig into our medical equipment for non-medical purposes, and then when we need it for medical purposes, it's not there. So we put this here so that even when this is mounted on my duty belt, I could just reach underneath, thumb out a pair of gloves, do whatever task I have to do, get back to my unit, replenish that, and I'm good to go. Once we get into the inside, you'll see you have a purpose-built, this red tab kind of opens the inner compartment, and then you will have a purpose-built tourniquet for primary tourniquet holder, designed primarily for the CAT or the soft T wide. And then inside you have a shock cord system that allows you a great deal of flexibility with what actual metal components you're going to carry. Some may be dictated by departmental SOP. However, you may have some options in there on what you're going to do. I typically like to plus up a little bit on the combat gauze because I'm carrying this kit, again, to address my wounds first and foremost. So knowing in a law enforcement role, there's a pretty good chance if I'm having to dig into this, it's going to be for a tourniquet and something to pack a gunshot wound. So I'd like to kind of have a little stuff leaning a little more towards that. This particular setup here has quick lock combat gauze, a 4-inch Israeli dressing, an MPA, and a dual chest seal. So whenever I'm ready to get everything situated and tightened down, and it also has, again, that internal glove pouch. So I have gloves should I be administering medical aid to someone else. I have gloves should I need them retained and saved, if you will, for medical purposes. So all I'll do is fold it up, come around, sandwich this all together, get it all nice and packed up in there. You're going to want to take a minute to kind of get it all nice and clean and packed. And then I just take this, which is retaining my exterior glove pouch. Can bring it up. This will give me tension just to help protect that glove pouch. Put it on my belt, and now I'm good to go. Obviously, depending on what you put in it is going to determine the thickness or even the width of it. This one's pretty maxed out for the most part on the actual volume that you can put in it. Something probably a little more realistic that I would personally carry on my belt would be something like this. I would generally run a primary tourniquet, but this is just showing you can use a TK4L, you can put a SWAT tourniquet, you can put a RATS tourniquet, you can put pretty much any tourniquet right here. Then again, we have our exterior glove pouch. This particular setup, I have a SWAT tourniquet, quick lock combat gauze, and a few things of petroleum gauze to act as chest seals. So with this particular setup, instead of a primary tourniquet and a pressure dressing, I have two secondary tourniquets, which one of them in conjunction with the combat gauze can be used as a pressure dressing. So I'm able to get the same basic functionality, but in a smaller form factor But again, everything's a trade-off. There's no free lunches. So a TK4L, while a viable option, is not going to be as good as a purpose-built tourniquet, excuse me, like a soft TY. So we want to make sure that we're taking that into account. Again, fold it all up, thread it on my belt, and then I'm good to go. So again, depending on what you put in it is going to affect the overall form factor of it. So those are some things to consider. Our mounting options, as well as the different configurations and the options within it. This is the O3D, the on or off-duty medical pouch, designed by NOLATAC and manufactured here in the USA by High Speed Gear. As always, guys, be vigilant, be prepared. Y'all stay safe out there.